Hello and welcome to the second part of this Add Atmospheric Motion to a Landscape tutorial. In the last part we just prepared our image. Now we're going to start to reveal some of the static detail and then lessen the effect of the motion blur to get a realistic look across our landscape. So first thing I want to do is switch off the visibility of our motion layer 2. So just click the little eye next to motion layer 2 so it's now invisible. Then I need to go over to my brush tool. Make sure that in the swatches I've got black. You can toggle between the foreground and background colours by just hitting X. Then making sure in my brush options that I've got quite a soft edged brush. Then I'm going to just increase the brush size by just using the right square bracket tool. Make sure that I've got my levels layer mask selected, and then all I need to do is just very quickly paint over the top of the image. What I want to do is just to reveal all of the areas which aren't the grass, and you can sort of get a rough guide exactly where you've covered by just looking down in the layer mask, and you'll start to see the black of the mask build up. So we'll just do this very quickly. Also want the foreground area to reveal, and then I'll just reduce the brush size just to start revealing the water areas. Now do make sure you've got quite a soft brush here, and it will just help with the transition between the two areas, the blurred and the sharp. Then once we're happy with that, if you just hold down Control on your layer mask and click once, and that'll make a selection. Go down to your adjustment layer below your motion 2 layer, switch the visibility back on. You should see the selection of your levels mask. Then just go to select and inverse, or shift Control I, which will inverse the selection. Then just select the paint bucket and fill, and that'll fill in those areas. So basically you've just mimicked the layer mask from the motion layer 1 to the motion layer 2. Just go Control D to deselect, and now what we want to do is go back onto levels layer 1, and we're going to select our brush tool again, switch our swatches so we've got white as the foreground and black as our background, and we're going to take our opacity for the brush down to about 30%. Now what we want to do is just reduce our brush size and just very carefully go over the grass areas in the foreground, and what that'll do is just start to apply some of the blur to the other grass areas, and we're also going to do that with a much smaller brush just around the trees. So it's just applying a little bit of blur to the trees in the background. Try not to go over the trunks because obviously they won't move as much as the leaves in the wind. And we want to repeat that again for the adjustment layer on the motion layer 2, and again for the trees. Just do it very roughly around the edges, and what we're looking for is a nice amount of movement within the image itself. Finally, we can just reduce the opacity again to about 15, and then we can do a very quick movement across the water, which will just help to add just a little bit of movement to the water areas, but will still retain some of the detail. Okay, it takes a little bit of time to go over the whole image and get things exactly how you want. If we take a quick look down in the adjustment layer mask here, we can see sort of the build up of the black areas, the slightly grey, the white, just drawing out and bringing out the detail of that motion that we've applied to those two layers. And I'll leave you to get on with that, and then I'll see you again in the next part where I'll actually reduce the effect of that motion and we'll apply the black and white effect to the picture to create our atmospheric motion landscape.